Hey, I think we're live. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fast Forward series. You're joined by myself, Nastasha, and today we have a very, very special guest, Nkgabiseng, and we'll be covering building a brand, especially for small businesses, and why it's super important within this particular space. A few of you guys would have attended the actual live stream session. However, we did have connectivity challenges. So one of the things that Nkgabi and I decided to do is record the session today so that when we share this valuable content, we still have all the questions that were asked within the actual Fast Forward series. So we're not going to miss out on any of those things. But this is just the reason why it's taken a bit of a while for us to post it back on VHub. So yes, without further ado, we would usually get into a little bit of house rules about using the polls and engaging with the polls, but I think this time I want to do something a little bit different. If you've watched this or you're busy watching this and you find value or there's an aspect that you'd really like for us to hone in on or get a little bit more information about, please contact us on any of our social media channels. That's on our Facebook page. You can contact us via DM on Instagram or Twitter, or you can even comment on one of our LinkedIn posts and we will find it and get back just so that we can make sure that this is still a two-way conversation as far as possible. So yes, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Nkgabiseng Motau she's the founder of Think Creative Africa. And if the questions and the polls and the engagement from the live session, even though we had connectivity challenges, it was anything to go by, I think you will learn a lot from the session. So yes, I'd like to hand over to you, Nkgabiseng, to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Nastasha. I'm really, really happy to be here. I loved the live session, so I'm super happy to just get to repeat the content in a way that will be accessible. So yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm going to get straight into my presentation and introduce myself that way, if you're happy. So here we go.
Awesome.
All right, so I'm here today to teach about how to grow your business by creating a unique and trustworthy brand. And I love this topic because it's kind of my life's work. It's what I'm interested in and what I do for a living. I think at the core of it, for me, it's about making people remember. And that's why this is the title of my presentation. Just a quick introduction. I'm Nkgabiseng Motau. I'm co-founder and CCO of Think Creative Africa. And, just a little bit more about me. I was born in Woodbank in Malahleni. It's quite a small town in Mpumalanga. I'm a Capricorn, if you care about zodiac signs. I'm a mom of a 2-year-old. I love podcasts. I'm always talking about them. And this is my 7th year in business. And then about my work at Think Creative Africa, I've got a little reel to share. It's not going to take up a lot of time, but I just thought maybe let me share the Think Creative Africa space so everyone can get a sense of that. I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop. It's under the lights when everything goes. Nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine, just imagine. Fantastic. So that's just a cross-section of the stories that we've told on behalf of brands. But beyond that, as entrepreneurs, we also own a breast pump that's targeted at mothers. It's a small business. It's a small and growing brand. And we are really investing our expertise that we work with at Think into this product to help it connect with more mothers out there. So it's on this basis that I come to talk about why build a strong brand. I think I care about it from a work perspective, but also just from, looking around and understanding that human beings are connected by stories. And this is kind of the area where I'm most interested. So I've got a quote here from the Europe Brand Institute that says brands have the potential to create incredible value for companies and corporations, but people buy brands, not products. And this sentence is valid, especially in the global communication society. No brand, no differentiation, meaning no long-term profitability. People don't have relationships with products, they are loyal to brands. I think a lot of the time when we're growing our business as entrepreneurs, we worry about the functional aspects of the business, how my product actually is, how my service delivery is, supply chain, process management, billings, and so on. And we forget that we've got to build a relationship that will be lasting with our customers. That relationship, it's actually called a brand. That reputation is called a brand, and it's super valuable for growing businesses like ours. I love this idea and this story. Going back from school or work, many of us will pass a market just like this one. And what's interesting about these markets is you have 10, 12 sellers selling the exact same products, amazing, fresh, organic fruit and veg. How do you choose which seller you're going to interact with? Especially since you really want to support many of the sellers in your environment, maybe they're from your community, but it's hard to choose because there is no differentiation. So where there is no differentiation, in other words, no brand, we shop by price. Maybe by relationship if you like the one seller more than the other. But that is a dangerous place because it means when I walk up to a store, somebody might give me a bag of tomatoes for 10 Rand. And then the person next to her would say, if you come over here, I'll give it to you for 8 Rand. And how does that carry on in terms of sustainability? Because you end up in a price war to the bottom. A brand can inoculate us against that price war. This is exactly the same establishment as what I've shown you in the previous picture. But there's a promise, there's a brand. So when I walk into Food Lovers Market in Woodmead, or I walk into Food Lovers Market in Cape Town, or in Emalahleni, I have an expectation of pricing, of quality, of service, even to the level of detail. What kind of packaging will I get? What kind of trolley will I get? All of those things are encoded in the brand, and I know where to find them. If I step into a mall, there's their logo, there's their name, there are their colors. The difference between instance 1 and instance 2 is a brand and something that people feel that they have a relationship with and they can rely on. And that's what we're looking to build here. Where there is a brand, we shop with little resistance because the decision is made before we step into the store. How many times do you walk into a new town when you're on vacation or visiting relatives and you go, I just need to know where the Pick and Pay is? Because Pick and Pay is something you can trust and you know exactly what to expect when you get there. So branding is about building trust for our business at any scale. It's not about size. It's not about being the level of Food Lovers Market. It's about giving people something, a message, a color, a logo that they can keep in their minds and know if I shop from this product, if I buy these services, I will get X and I will be satisfied. So that's what branding really comes to the heart of. Building a strong brand is all about finding home for your product or service in the hearts of minds and consumers. And that's a very difficult thing to do, especially when you're running a small business. Why? Because people have a lot on their minds and are slow to open their hearts. But the good news is there are things that we can do about this. In this masterclass, we'll look at how we can put down one brick at a time in building our brands and as such, growing our businesses. So this is the average person's shopping journey, especially post the pandemic. It's scrolling, whether it's on social media or on a shopping platform, or even in a WhatsApp group where someone's shared a link or some pictures. Now, how can we as brands, whether we offer services or products, stop the scrolling? We have to find our uniqueness. And this is the first element of a great brand that I want to talk about. So this is on the building of the Coca-Cola offices around the world. It is a brief that the company gave to the designer of the bottle many years ago in 1915. The quote says, a bottle so distinct that it could be recognized by touch in the dark or when lying broken on the ground. Can your product or service be recognized by touch in the dark or lying broken on the ground? In a world full of choice, distinctiveness is more important than ever before because Coca-Cola itself has a number of brands which kind of compete internally, but they compete with many other companies that are offering beverages. Maybe they're not even offering beverages, they're offering sweet treats, and in my mind, that occupies the same space. So distinctiveness is absolutely critical. Simply put, we choose what we know. If I know this is Coca-Cola and I know I'm going to have a satisfactory experience with it, that brand leads me to buy the product, in other words, growing the business. And this is an area of behavioral science or behavioral economics that I'm very interested in, which is called familiarity bias. Familiarity bias is the preference to stay within our comfort zone and overvalue a choice that we already know. Overvalue is quite important because we're looking to have people spend money with us. So if they attribute more value to our products because they know them, then we're in a great position. So as human beings, we sometimes feel uncomfortable or unsure trying new things. As I said, when we travel and so on, we do this. And that's why we would want to invest in people knowing something about our brand. I'm going to pause here and maybe question.
Nkgabi, just a very quick question around the familiarity bias, because I think that's something that a lot of us suffer from. How do small businesses get to overcome that, or steps that they can take to overcome familiarity bias when they offer a product or service that many other large competitors potentially offer as well?
I think the first thing is to try your best within your means to become familiar. And I'll unpack how we become familiar over time in the presentation. One of those things is your visual branding assets, which you fortunately have full control over. How many of us are familiar, for example, with the Vodacom logo? Many of us. We see it repeatedly in different sizes on different surfaces, so it becomes something familiar. Whether or not you know what product we are selling or what service we are giving, you are familiar with their logo. Are you familiar with their colors? Are you familiar with how they do their branding, their tonality? So one of the challenges we have is to find branding assets that we believe are strong for our business and stick with them as much as possible, so that over time people have seen that vegetable seller with the orange logo, I know them. When they talk to me in advertising, or when I one day decide to walk into their store, I have kind of a preliminary relationship with them. So one of the things is investing in visual assets, sticking with them, and making sure that people can remember something about you. So that's one. Number two is sampling. So small businesses of any nature, we have to get new customers to sample our thing over the thing they already know. This can be difficult, but as entrepreneurs, we are creative. What are the best ways to get people to try your thing? Is it discounting? Is it giving it to them in an environment where they least expect it? Is it offering to swap out the existing thing that they have from the bigger retailer or the known retailer for yours for free or for a lower price? So we've got to get people to sample it. Their first relationship with it will hold some value. Next time when they come back, they kind of feel familiar. So building a brand is all about that consistency, bringing all the building blocks together to make sure people have an idea of you. And when they interact with your product, they are reminded that they made the right decision.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Nkgabi.
Awesome. So here are the 5 attributes that I found of a great brand. A great brand is memorable, and we're talking about familiarity just now with Nastasha. A memory structure that belongs to your brand is very important. Distinctiveness is very important. We've talked about that Coca-Cola bottle in the dark, lying broken on the floor. We talked a little bit now during our familiarity bias conversation about consistency, keeping your visual assets similar, keeping your tonality similar, and offering the product at the right quality every time. Authenticity, so don't try to be another brand. Don't try to pretend to be someone else because that spot, that memory structure, that memory path is already probably taken in a consumer's mind. And then excellence. I think the one thing we can agree on is whether or not you like a product, if they're excellent in delivering an exceptional product consistently, so whether you buy it in Johannesburg or you buy it in Pretoria or you buy it in Kuruman, you get the same level of excellent service. People can then keep coming back to your brand. I've brought a local example to talk about those 5 attributes. And when we think about this brand, Oros, it has so many things that are right for it. So is it memorable? Yes, they've been around for a very long time. When I pull up the slide, often people say they can hear the image on the right, that mango commercial that we're all so familiar with. So they are memorable. Their character is endearing and we love him. You know, they can do various things that'll keep him in our minds. Like they would put him in a dance challenge. They allow him to visit campuses, show up in retail spaces. And indeed, recently they allowed him to go on a weight loss journey, I think talking to their new sugar reduced product. So memorability is kind of baked into this. Their use of color, orange, is striking. It talks to what they sell in terms of orange flavor, their key ingredient in the most popular variant. And I think they try their best to remain consistent. Whether they're launching a new flavor, different sizes, different markets, you are going to get a consistent, excellent outcome, certainly what you expect from them. So when we start to look at brands like this and we break it down for ourselves, it can feel like, but I'm not Oros, I'm a small business. But the truth is, you have to look at yourself with the kind of growth in mind where you start making decisions today that I'm going to be memorable. So I'm building the first step in memorability by creating great choice of colors for my brand, creating a great logo, having a slogan that allows people to remember me and repeating that, and of course, delivering quality products and services. So here's a cheat sheet around how we can start to build on that. I'm going to allow a pause before we get into our cheat sheet so we can get a question if there is one.
Yes, and Nkgabi, I see we are going to cover this in the cheat sheet. I don't want to forget about a very, very important question that Melissa Boyson asked. And one of the things she asked is, how do you choose colors in branding to suit your business? You can either answer it, or if you're going to go through the cheat sheet, maybe just keep her question in mind as well, because that would be very useful.
Definitely, I will keep that in mind. It's a fantastic question and one of the most important branding elements, as we'll talk about now. But in the cheat sheet, we start with the logo. So investing in a great logo and making sure you use it consistently. It can be difficult because one, we may not be experts of the visual landscape or graphic designers ourselves. Two, because we see different trends in the logo space. Brands having logos that represent a certain aesthetic and then later on they might have moved. I think one of the things about the logo is actually the memory structure it creates is much more important than the logo itself. So once you have developed a great logo that plays into where we are in time now, try your best to keep and only slightly evolve it, as we've seen some of the big branding giants do. So some great information to share here. There are logo development platforms online. So you can go to a platform called Squarespace and see they have a logo development option there where you can just type in your brand name, what you want to attribute to it, and it can spit out a logo. You can brief a graphic designer. You can use platforms like Canva to develop it yourself, and many other, I guess, providers will be looking at this branding space. I know that Google, for example, is looking at supporting small businesses, and I would not be surprised if one of these days they have a design suite where you can put together your branding elements. So invest in a great logo, whether that's paying someone to do it or investing time to use one of the online platforms I've just mentioned to develop your logo. A pro tip when developing a logo, think about the fact that it has to be represented really big. When you buy a billboard one day or even today, it would be huge. And it also has to be really tiny. Think about the Instagram logo, or even when you're talking to someone on Instagram and you can see the profile picture, your brand's profile picture would be absolutely tiny. So it's got to be a logo that can work at multiple sizes. And then coming to the question that was asked now, colors. Really use your colors everywhere. So like in the Oros example, or even if you think of a brand like Dark and Lovely, you immediately think purple. You want customers calling you that red brand or that orange brand, because that helps you once again to build memory structures, to build those pathways that allow people to be familiar with you and have a relationship with you. When it comes to how to choose your brand colors, there's a number of ways you can approach this. One, you can approach it scientifically. So if you go onto Google, you're able to search what the meanings of different colors are in a corporate setting or in a business setting. So colors like blue are usually popular in financial services because they talk to trust, level-headedness, coolness. Colors like red, also really popular in retail, in technology, because they talk to activity, innovation, pace. So you might want to look at it scientifically. The other way you want to look at it maybe is kind of in terms of what you believe is true about your brand. So you might want to represent a particular attribute. So if you sell vegetables, maybe green is your color because you think green represents fresh food. So it can be quite subjective or it can be quite scientific. And then, of course, with the advent of social media, if you're still looking for brand colors that resonate most with your market, you can actually do a poll. So if you have a WhatsApp group of customers, you can poll them there. Or if you have a social media platform on Facebook, on Instagram, you can run a poll. Guys, what is the color that resonates with you the most for our brand? If you've got 3 favorites, you would put them forward and allow your market to be part of shaping your brand. So colors are important. And I think the key thing to remember is the consistent use of them. The next thing is the slogan. As the description is written, short and sticky. I try to keep that short and sticky as well. The slogan can do many things for a business. One is it can communicate a value. So a great example of communicating a value is Coca-Cola, open happiness. That doesn't describe the beverage in the bottle, but it communicates what they care about. They are the antidote to modern day woes. They're a moment of sweetness. So their slogan may be something like open happiness. Another way to approach the slogan is to tell people what your business does. It's key real estate that you can start to communicate and help people remember. So if you are Purple Unicorn Accounting and people don't really know that you do accounting services, you could have Purple Unicorn, the most trustworthy accountants in town, or whatever it is that you want to explain about your business. So the slogan can be quite functional and allow people to know what your business does or what your product is about, or it can be around expressing your values as a company, what you believe in, what is your perspective on the world. And then another one to get into, especially for social media, which is where all of us should really be operating in terms of marketing, is tone and personality. So how does the brand show up? Is it a funny brand? Is it bold? Does it stand for big ideas that give people goosebumps? Is it cheeky? Does it come in and comment on those things that socially we don't want to talk about, but we are all thinking? Is it uplifting? Does it look to say there is so much grim news on the internet? We are the good news brand. Is it old school? Does it tap into a form of nostalgia, something we all miss, and so on? Once you've decided on the brand tone, it's important to reflect, is that authentic for you, the business owner, for the people that work in your business, and certainly for your market? So if you're coming into a market and you are looking to be fun or funny, is that real for you? Are you a funny product? Are you a funny brand? And I think it's worth spending time on, because on social media, you want to keep that consistent.
Awesome. So Nkgabi, thank you for covering this as like a really good cheat sheet, as you put it. So talking to your slogan, short and sticky and straight to the point. Usually a big brand like a Vodacom or a Woolworths would spend a lot of money across multiple channels to get their brand out there. Versus now in the age of like social media and how much time people actually spend on their phones, typically what you covered initially. How can small businesses use that real estate more appropriately so that they can start getting the elements like their logo, color, slogan, and tone and personality to come alive without needing a billboard or needing a TV ad? And just as you're covering this, there was also a question from, I see it's Zanele Mkikati. I'm so sorry that I've like butchered your surname, Zanele. And she basically asked, what is an electronic logo and what's the difference between an electronic logo and a normal business logo? So if you can just like cover that for us, that will be helpful.
Yeah, those are two great questions. Maybe I can start with Zanella's question. An electronic logo just means a version of your logo that is available in electronic mediums. So something you can share via WhatsApp, via email, something that is fit for web. So typically it will be in formats like JPEG and PNG and so on, and it'll be made in RGB color format. That's technical, but it basically means the color format and the coding of your logo is right to be viewed on screens. So an electronic logo, just simply your logo, but on electronic mediums. A normal company logo, as you know, is the same thing as an electronic logo. It's just where you keep the logo format. So you might have to produce a logo that is print optimized. If you're going to print some elements like leaflets or signage, they might ask you to make it in CMYK. Again, these are technical details that you can quickly look up online when you have requests like this. The fortunate thing about platforms like the one I mentioned, Squarespace or Canva, is when you export, you typically can select the kind of logo that you need. So you can export for phone screens, you can export for desktop, and you can export for print. So those are the key differences. Great question. I think in terms of bringing your brand to life on social media and leveraging what you don't have in terms of budget as a small business is really seeking opportunities to be authentic and distinctive. And a third thing I'd like to introduce here is being tactical. So if you're a small business and now you've created your logo, you've chosen your brand colors, your slogan, and you have a personality that you've selected to go ahead with, you've put up your social media pages and the colors are consistent and you're selecting imagery with your values in mind and your customers in mind, as well as the best representation of your product or service. What you can also do is called social listening. So you can do this yourself in Facebook, the Meta Business Desk, which is open to everyone, or even in your own Facebook, if you register your Facebook or Instagram pages as businesses, it gives you page insights. That is a form of social listening as well. So if you're going to those page insights, you're able to see different breakdowns of information. Who is coming to your page most often? Of the people that follow you, who is interacting the most? What regions are they in? And so on. That allows you to have information about what your audience is doing, who they are, what they care about, and you can actually develop posts based on this knowledge. So you've seen that they care about posts that have to do with you doing good in the community as a business, then you would post more of that. You develop content that plays into what they're interested in. That is called tactical. So you look at opportunities when it's most relevant. So if people care about you doing good in community as a business, perhaps you ought to invest in doing something interesting for Mandela Day and developing content around that. That would be a tactical marketing opportunity that you don't have to invest a lot of money in because people are already having that conversation and can help your message spread organically. The other thing to look at is doing paid posts. So the platforms like Meta and Twitter, as well as TikTok, have developed very easy functionality for small business owners, everyday people who just have a phone to boost content to larger audiences. So again, once you've looked at the analytics on your platform that you get from these platforms that tell you what your markets are interested in, what the opportunities are, you can select some of the best performing content from your organic feed and promote that. So you can do this literally from 0 rands, 100 rand, 300 rand, all the way through. You can choose the amount of money, the amount of time that the post will be promoted, and the platform will then tell you how many people you are likely to reach. So just looking at opportunities on social to be tactical and listen to what your audience is talking about, also reacting to what they really like, can help you to behave kind of like a big brand using a smaller budget. Okay, I love this, the brand with the 3 stripes. We don't even have to say what brand this is. If I were to pop quiz anyone, immediately someone is going to come out and say Adidas. And that's amazing because they've built equity around having 3 stripes on their shoes and apparel over a long time. So the logo is a great way to start building distinctiveness, but you can also break that logo up after time and start to put it and use it in more and more interesting ways. So it's about consistency. It's about investing in the right thing at the beginning. And once you've done that, making sure that you show up as widely as possible with that asset. An important thing in terms of building a brand is finding your people, finding your fans, people that really resonate with what you're offering. Many of us entrepreneurs in small businesses are solving problems. You know, we've looked at our community, we've looked at our environment, and we've seen that something is missing, and we intend to offer it with our business. So that audience that can resonate with the thing that's missing, or the product gap, or the problem that they're facing, those are the people that you need to convert into evangelists of your brand. I've got a little story to tell, which is based on a social media influencer called Sinovuyo Mondliwa. She was really, really interested in natural hair care, and she started to share her journey, how she washes her hair, how she does moisturization, how she styles it. And that has nothing to do with selling anything. It's merely happening upon a topic that she feels great passion about and sharing that with her community. In doing that, many people who are interested in the natural hair care topic started to notice her content. But through that process, she identified a few key problems. There weren't great hair products for natural hair care that was similar to hers. There weren't protection products for nighttime, such as satin dukes and pillowcases. And she was able to then develop products that resonate with her community. So that is a community-based strategy. But that doesn't have to be how you start. You can still leverage the power of community by really tapping into the authentic needs of the people you serve and making content on behalf of your business based on that. Conversation is powerful. And in today's world, it's one of the key things that differentiates powerful brands from brands that are shallow. And I think this example is a great example in that she's got a functional business that is selling in hundreds of thousands, sorry, I guess I'm attributing millions to her, hundreds of thousands of rands in the South African market, all built through authentic conversation and a singular topic interest. And I think that that's really important. So be authentic about who you are, and the right people will gather around that message. And then once you've done that, continue the conversation. So do not just speak at your market, try to be in conversation with them.
Awesome. Nkgabi, one thing I just want to point out also on this page, and I think we missed it in the previous session, but when you mentioned logo sizes, if you look at just this page, which is literally like a screenshot of somebody else's Instagram page, I can very clearly see Meta's brand, Woolworths brand, Nivea brand, Standard Bank, and so on and so forth, very, very clearly articulated. And I think that's just a testament to making sure that your logo can be represented, because there are multiple assets. So when you're working with other other brands, for example, through a partnership, or other people are talking about your brand, that asset that you can share can ensure that the elements that you've covered for your business all show up consistently, and you get that consistent use of your brand across multiple platforms. So yeah, thank you for sharing this example as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And to build on that, if you look at these examples, Meta, Nivea, MTN are probably the most legible. So if you are in a naming process of your business as well, shorter is more malleable for different sizes. So choosing a shorter name or maybe an acronym might help you in these spaces where your brand can scale to tiny for screens, mobile screens, and then really large for places like out of home.
Awesome.
And then just building on the idea of conversation with your community, crafting your story. That is really, really important. As the picture says, stories matter. And stories matter because we use them to connect with products that are otherwise cold objects on a shelf, where we have to choose from thousands of different products. So this is a product that sells rusks in South Africa, but it is so well told in terms of its storytelling. Firstly, the name. Oma. It means grandma. That has attributes that come to mind. When many of us say grandma, we have a particular vision, a particular feeling, maybe even a scent and a memory attributed to that. So that's already strong equity. And then it says, baked on the original farm. That's a story, right? There's a farm, there's a particular kind of oven. You imagine how the baking smells. You imagine that Oma has a really incredible recipe from 1931, 39 possibly, and you start to connect with that story. Whether or not you have an Oma or you really can resonate with the idea of grandma, immediately that communicates love, care of baking. And this is what is meant by storytelling. Another local story is very interesting. This is a sneaker brand called Batu. Batu is a colloquial term for shoe. So already they're telling you their brand tonality with their name. So instead of calling it sneaker or shoe, they've chosen local language, which is associated mainly with being streetwise or being from the township. And then their brand story is a South African township story. So they always communicate around that, their founder's story, where he is from, how he built the brand, that rags to riches story, that entrepreneur's journey, hero's journey story that can be so endearing to many of us and pull us in. You know, we feel motivated, we feel galvanized, and we want to be a part of the growth journey. At the end of the day, they sell sneakers and they could have gone for any identity, but they're able to tell the story really authentically. And in telling stories, we've got to be careful about where we tell those stories. So selecting your touch points is very important. I've used this example image of guy with a sign because he shows up on street corners and he has these amazing messages on them. And that's gotten him so much acclaim from just standing on a street corner with a camera and a cardboard box, clearly understanding how his market works, how his community or audience would receive this messaging. So yes, we can go to grids like this one, marketing channels for growth, and cover everything from search engine optimization, content marketing, offline advertising, email marketing. I think it can get quite confusing and probably needs one to really journey one medium at a time. But I think the most important thing around a growth mindset for a brand is understanding who my customer is and where they are, and taking my message there. So I don't expect my customer base to come and search through the woods to find my message. I find them, I craft a message for them, and I find them where they are to deliver that message. That is really, really critical. So if you're talking to young people and you know they're on their phone at least 9 hours a day, you want to find them somewhere mobile. And where are they when they're on their phones? They're on WhatsApp, they're on TikTok. That's where you want to place your message. You don't want to buy maybe a billboard in one particular town, which is a huge investment, but wouldn't be seen by your market.
Awesome. So when you covered and brought up the slide, the questions went crazy and the comments went crazy. And there were a couple of pertinent questions that I just want to pause and reflect on as well. Around one question was, does a business need to be registered to make a Google profile? So I'm just going to take one step back around the SEO element, because I think the search engine optimization and search engine marketing piece tends to be quite confusing for small businesses, especially those that don't have a digital marketing team. So very simply put, guys, on VHub, we actually do have an article where we cover basically the benefits of creating a free Google business profile. So getting started doesn't have to cost you, well, actually doesn't cost you any money. And that almost starts signaling to the biggest search engine out there that your business is operating. So when people search for something related and you set it up correctly, and we do cover the actual topic there on how to get it set it up, how to set it up. And if you already have one, how to optimize it. Those articles are available on VHub under the Find and Keep Customers category. What I do want to point out, though, in response to the question from, and I just want to actually give a shout out to Sharon Harold, who actually asked this question. I think people are always under the impression that certain channels are only accessible to people that are formally registered businesses. Yeah. Guys, the great thing about digital and digital assets like Google, Meta's estate, Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and the rest is they don't care whether you're registered or not as a business. They don't care if you only became operational yesterday or you've been around for a year. And I think you need to make use of all of those assets that are available because they've specifically created capability for small businesses to start leveraging the ecosystem without costing money. So to answer the question very simply, no, it doesn't cost you any money. And then I think the second piece as well, when you're opening up, and I love how Nkgabi says a growth mindset, because digital actually does enable, or digital channels, digital marketing channels really do help facilitate that whole growth aspect. And one of the questions that we actually had, which was such an important question, was from Yuvika Naidu. And she asked, how can an entrepreneur deal with negative reviews or videos about their brand on social? Because essentially everything we're covering here is how to help grow your brand using these channels. But ultimately what it does is it opens up a two-way conversation. So I think, Nkgabi, can you maybe just respond to Yuvika's question? And then I'll just add in a little bit about the element from a Google review as well, because I think there was some really positive feedback around the response to that.
Yeah, I think for me, the way that I view it is a brand communication always should be a conversation and never just a projection of messaging. So for me, the worst thing a brand can do when they are faced with negative feedback is silence. I think that is the number one punishable offense when it comes to consumers and how they feel. So when I come to your platform and I complain and you ignore me, you essentially make me feel like I don't matter, and the money I might have spent on your product or your services really is insignificant. So I think the best thing that brands can do with services like Google reviews is make sure that they stay in conversation with people. So you've seen the complaint, you'd like to acknowledge it according to your brand tone as well. So hello, customer X, we're sorry to hear that you have experienced this. Somebody from our team is going to reach out to you to resolve it. The other thing is you don't have to resolve all complaints on platform. You can actually direct them into the direct message to unpack it, or you can ask them for their contact details so you can contact them and talk about it one-on-one. People tend to be calmer and more understanding when you reach out to them one-on-one than if you continue to engage them, for example, in a comment section where they might be egged on by anger and the spectacle of it all. So I think the number one rule is don't be quiet, actually acknowledge the complaints that are coming through in reviews.
Happy. One thing that I also just want to add to that as well is mixed reviews are actually a lot more beneficial than just 5-star reviews, because it means it's real. The business is evolving, the business is growing. And guys, we know things are going to, like, you will make mistakes along the way. It's how you recover and how you respond to the actual review that's super important. For us, the fact that we got quite bad reviews in the initial recording of this meant that we couldn't just ignore the feedback from our customers, which are all of you guys watching our actual masterclasses on our connectivity challenges. So for us, the content was valuable. Everybody responded really well to it. So re-recording the session and making sure that you can hear it is our way of addressing, because mistakes happen, load shedding happens. So guys, big brands, small brands, it really doesn't matter. People will go through growing pains, scaling pains, but it's how you show up and how you respond that I think will make all the difference. I'm always super keen to give people a second opportunity, especially if something went wrong and they respond really well to it. And I think when you're looking for businesses to engage with, I mean, when you go and read their reviews, I think you're a lot more forgiving when you can see something went wrong, somebody reached out, they closed the loop and are able to, move it forward. It's actually a whole lot more, it's more realistic than thinking you will always give customers a 5-star experience, because again, growing pains, scaling pains, these will all come into effect. Awesome. Back over to you, Nkgabi.
Thank you so much, Nastasia. And just a cheat sheet looking at all of this that we're discussing now. So social media, start as soon as possible and use the tools that are available to you. So use free tools, use tools you can register on quickly. Absolutely get onto Google as soon as possible if your business isn't on there. Just some examples, Hootsuite. where you can post and manage all social media accounts from one place, one dashboard. Some people feel overwhelmed by having to check Twitter and Instagram and this and that. Hootsuite can help you to pull that. And also you can start with one platform. You can start with one medium and take it from there. MailChimp, email marketing, really, really great for capturing people's email addresses and being able to have an audience with them in their email, crafting great campaigns where you have new news or you have an amazing sale or a great new product and putting it through MailChimp really also has a lot of intelligent features and super, super affordable. Meta, again, it's free. You can start today. So Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. WhatsApp for business, really, that's just a pro tip. They are like offering businesses so much, everything from catalogs to shopping links, all can exist within WhatsApp, and that's from Meta. Squarespace allows you to build your website really quickly. You can honestly do it in a day. I know it's intimidating, especially for small businesses putting up websites. I know that Google has this functionality as well, and then Canva. Paid search. So Google has made it so easy to set up a business profile and get boosting. I know that the team at Vodacom offer this kind of support through VHub, this information on the Google platforms and what you can do with them. But they're really, really robust and they're built with small businesses in mind. Affiliates or influencers. So I think these are just fancy ways that people talk about tapping into your own networks, finding partners that will work at preferential rates or believe in your brand or believe in your product. These will be friends, they'll be family, they'll be people you've sold your first product to and ask them to do a post about it or ask them to talk to family and friends about it. So do trade exchanges or offer good percentages in exchange for marketing or affiliate marketing. This can go a long way because as small businesses, we don't have massive influencer budgets. So it's just looking at your network and saying, who can authentically help me speak to a wider audience on behalf of my business, showcasing my product or service that I have immediate contact with. So that's the first thing. And if you don't have immediate contacts with anyone that you believe is great to be a spokesperson or even just a collaborator, social media is an amazing tool for getting to know collaborators. So writing a really nice letter to them in the DM saying, hello, so-and-so, we love this about the content that you post. This is what we're about, and we think it would make a great match. Unfortunately, we might not be the biggest brand, so we don't have that massive budget yet, but here's what we're willing to offer in exchange. And I think being really succinct, putting all your information in one message so they can kind of look at it and go interested or not interested really, really goes a long way. And also just being nice. A lot of influencers that we work with would say, when people are nice and they tell their authentic story of their business, especially with local businesses, we're more willing to work with them and give them preferential rates. So that's pretty hopeful. And then again, PR and content. We talked a little bit about this in the live session. So South Africa is hungry for stories about entrepreneurs. This is true about many publications, whether they're industry specific or generic. So being able to craft your story, distill it into something engaging and reach out to industry related publications, editors, pitch your business story. They're a customer too, and they're a customer with a massive audience base. So the bonus is if the piece runs, you can always turn that into content for your own social media pages. Come back, show that you're trustworthy, show that you're familiar to the audience that you are building. Social media does not have to be perfect or polished. I'm going to show one of these pack and order with me TikToks that people make out there. Sometimes customers just want to see that you're a real business. Who are you about? Where are you situated? And they love coming along on the growth journey for that. So here's an example. Yeah, I mean, so that's just a business packing in order, showcasing their products. Honestly, it's not polished, it's not perfect. It's just somebody doing what they do when they get a customer order. One more example of this before we kind of start to wrap
This
up.
customer got 2 items and they left a note for me. The note says, I would really love to see these being packed. It's completely fine if it's not possible though, since it is a small order. I don't have much money right now, but I wanted to order something so bad. Hopefully next time my order will be much larger. Even though your order isn't big, I'm still super grateful. And when I saw your note, I knew I wanted to film this video because I don't want anyone feeling bad because they can't place a massive order. I think I've said.
Yeah, it's great that these business owners also showcase who they are by talking in the videos. So if you can do that, that's great. But you can also see how simple the setups are. They're not massive factories. They're like really, maybe some of them are even still running from their homes, but they're able to communicate what their business is about and draw new customers in.
Love that. And thank you for using these examples, Nkgabi. I think, it's very practical, especially because people can do it from day one or as their business is scaling as well, which is the example you spoke about. Building a brand doesn't mean that your business needs to be a big business. We also, in one of our previous sessions, had Melissa, who was an engineer turned baker. And what she did is when she was sharing all of her content, it actually birthed a new business because she's she like bakes cupcakes, fancy wedding cakes, all of those things. And she actually started another spin-off on her business, which is masterclasses on cake decorating and all of those things, all just from the content and letting people into the business as well. So I think it could be super effective, not just at building an audience, but potentially even pivoting your business as well. But Nkgabi, this has been absolutely, mind-boggling, and I'm so happy I get to listen to it for a second time as well. If you just have to give small businesses or entrepreneurs watching this video now, 3 key things that they need to take out of this, what would that be?
Yeah, so I think this is not a bad slide to actually end on, which is the whole thing of building your brand is the fact that you are working on love. You're building a relationship that will go from strangers to familiarity, to someone I know, to someone I trust, and to someone I absolutely love. And I'm going to talk to other people about that person too. So if you think about the journey of building your brand as such, then you're able to know, how do I talk to my customers? What value do I offer them? And how much effort do I put in building the brand and marketing it? So working on love, making sure that you become that brand that people queue around the corner. It's down to product, and it's also down to how you represent yourself and communicate your values. So that's one thing. The second thing, I think authenticity is really important, because in this session we've spoken a lot about conversation versus projection. That's really how the current shopper wants to be approached. It's in all of our data. When you are authentic and you're having a conversation with people, meaning you say something and they say something and you give them feedback, and the loop continues, you're able to also refine your products. You're able to refine your brand. Customers are very, very honest with brands, and they expect quite a bit. They expect a lot of brands that show up in their lives and that they spend money on. So authenticity and being open to conversation. And then I think the next one is consistency. So remember, when you're making these decisions about what's your logo, what's your colors, just do it with a mindset that you are going to stick with these assets for a long time. Yes, you can evolve them slightly, changing the font a little to match with the times, making sure that your icon is just slightly revised. Over 10 years, you can make minor tweaks, but really staying consistent with your brand and also staying consistent with your product or service in terms of quality. I think those 3 things could really make for a great start. And then a bonus is, please, social media now, now.
Awesome. Nkgabi, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and insights. I mean, you've got so much context on the space. Any question you've thrown your way, I just love how you explain it in layman's terms, because that's what we try to achieve with BHub. Because anybody can become a small business owner that doesn't necessarily have big teams of brand specialists with 10 years plus working in multiple industries like yourself, that can help with these conversations. So Nkgabi, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to partnering with you in future again. So thank you also.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I loved being here, and I love this topic. I'm always open to talk about it. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. We'll chat soon. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.